Welcome to On the Brink with Andy Simon. Hi, I'm Andy Simon. And as you know, all of my loyal followers, my job is to get you off the brink. My job is to bring to you people who can help you see, feel, and think in new ways. Today, I have Donny Willis with us, and Donny and I met by chance. Although I have a friend who said there is no chance, there's the pathway, and whatever you would like to think about it. But we were sitting next to each other on a plane, which often happens, and I was intrigued by his story, his personal brand. I will let you tell I'll let him tell you all about being the butter man in the Macy's parade in 2019. But what's more interesting is how that ties in to Donny being a pastor in Westchester Church in White Plains since 2017. And you're going to say a butterman and a pastor building a congregation of people to really do things in important ways. But there are three themes we want to talk about: transitions, really making good decisions, and managing your emotions as you go through life, because not everything is exactly the way you'd like it. Donny, thank you so much for being with me today.
Andy, it is such an honor to be on this podcast. Thank you for the invitation. And, your friendship over the last 2 weeks has been awesome, or 3 weeks, or
Well,
however long it's been.
we
But
did
it is
have
an
a
honor
great,
to meet
it
you.
was a great conversation. A little bit about Donny. I'll read the bio like I like to do. He served as pastor to the Westchester Church of White Plains since 2017, as I had mentioned. He's the founding pastor and currently the board president of Living Hope New York City in Manhattan. He earned his Master's of Organizational Leadership from the Colorado Christian University and a Bachelor of Theology from Texas Bible College. He's the author of a leadership book called Good, Butter, Best, and he'll tell you how that came about. And he's the infamous Butterman in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Donny and his wife, Ashley, live in the greater New York City area and are blessed with three children: Braden, Claire, and Elliot. And this is such fun. Donny, you have a very interesting story. Please share it with our audience because it sets the stage for what you're doing now and how you're helping people see, feel, and think in new ways to change. Donny.
Absolutely. Well, once again, Andy, it is such an honor to be with you and on this podcast. And to everybody out there, thank you so much for tuning in. It's an honor to be with each and every one of you. I know that you give your time to a lot of things. So the fact that you're giving your time to this, I honor each and every one of you for that. But yeah, as Andy was saying, my name is Donny Willis, and I am the butterman in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. That was not always something we were looking into, I guess you could say. It was not intentional. I feel like I have backed into meaningful moments in my life more than I have intentionally found them. So I'm originally from Louisiana. 2017, my family and I moved to New York to start a church, and it was a lot of fun and everything. And there was a family who started coming to our church, gave us a chance, and they had a job at Macy's, a pretty high up job, and just through conversation, put it together. I offered to serve, and my act of service became being a stick of butter in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. That morning, I looked at my wife. Her name is Ashley, and as Andy mentioned, she mentioned my kids' names. We love to rhyme things. We love Dr. Seuss. We love idioms. My book, like good, butter, best, play on words. Well, my family, there's Ashley. She's the A+. There's Braden. He's our oldest. There's Claire. There's Donny, and then there's Elliot. So A, B, C, D, E. And we have a dog named Finished. I'm just kidding. The dog's name is actually Frankie. but but yeah, in 2019, so I'm dressed like this stick of butter on Thanksgiving Day Parade. I look at my wife and I tell her, like, babe, we're not telling anybody about this because the last thing I want to be known for is as a stick of butter. And she's like, yeah, haha, okay, whatever. And twice during the parade, I went viral on Twitter with Al Roker. The first time I knew I was on, but I really, in the moment, you're so amped up, you're not thinking about it. He had a joke. He pushed me away. And then the writer of the musical Hamilton tweeted it. And whenever he tweeted it, it just went viral. And then the second time, I had no idea that he was. I mean, it's a 2-hour parade. What are the chances he is live in that moment? He's in his little motorcade. I come running up beside him. I throw my head into his camera and just start screaming about butter, and he was live in that exact moment. Well, that moment went viral. Then NBC puts it together like, hey, this is the same drunk teenager chasing Al all over the street. And they're like, we need to find this guy. And whenever they found me, they're like, oh, it wasn't a drunk teenager, it was actually a pastor. And and that, as only in America can happen, led to more appearances on TV shows, writing a book deal, and then so many other domino effects happened because of that one thing. But it all stemmed from a conversation that I had with a friend saying, hey, how can I serve? What can I do to serve you? I know you have the entire Manhattan Island at your disposal, but if you need anything, please let me know. And so that was kind of how the butter deal happened. Wasn't necessarily looking for it, but I believe that opportunities are around us all the time. I believe that there are moments in time that are an opportunity. And whenever we open our eyes and we say, you know what, there is an opportunity for something to happen today, I'm just going to keep my eyes open. I'm going to keep my heart open to conversations. I'm going to keep my eyes open to people. I'm going to listen. I'm going to make myself available. And whenever we take that approach in life, because we live, and Andy, I apologize if I feel free to stop me at any time. But we live in such a world. I live up in the good old suburbs of New York, and we live in a world where people raise their garages, they drive their cars in, they shut their garage in, and then they live in their little world. And everybody's kind of in their bubble, and we're scared half to death for some reason to enter into the interpersonal relationships. Are at an all-time low. I'm concerned about. And so I believe that if we would just kind of open ourselves up to people, you never know what opportunities are out there, because I believe that people truly desire to connect with others. It is easier for my kids to go on a public playground and make a bunch of friends than for me, because it's like headphones in, walk wherever I need to go super fast. And so, but if we would just kind of let our guards down and say, I'm available to serve you however you want, I believe there's opportunities all around us. And so that's kind of how the Butterman happened.
Well, but the Butterman is symbolic of a man, Donny Willis, who was willing to push past the ordinary and not knowing exactly where anything is going, was quite willing to trust that it'll be a moment, or you never even anticipated the fun that you were going to have with it. And it was fun, wasn't it?
Oh, it was a blast. It was a blast. Oh my goodness. Like look, I'm a dad of 3 young kids. I'll do anything for my kids. I will have a blast with them, whatever. And I just enjoy life.
Mm-hmm.
Life is short. And we take ourselves too serious so many times. And I think sometimes we just need to say, you know what, let's laugh a little bit. Let's enjoy life. Let's not, it's like I've got a lot of friends who love deep thinking. And anytime, a lot of times whenever I enter their room, they know, look, deep thought time is over. We are about to have fun. We're going to laugh. I believe that even that brings a depth that we're missing. Being able to sit and say, you know what, yeah, that was a fun moment. Yeah. Let's see where it goes. Where's Donny, the path go? I don't know, but let's walk it.
Well, and this morning, we were listening to an expert from Harvard talk about the lack of happiness here in this country. Now, we traveled, my husband and I have been to 37 countries. I will tell you that the poorest folks here are richer than most of the world, and somehow don't have a point of appreciation. And we know that humans they want to live in a herd, in a group of people. And we become, to your metaphor of driving into the garage, putting down the wall and living in an isolation. And of course, the pandemic wasn't kind to us. But even now, we've lost, for many people, the ability to communicate, to socialize, to smile, to laugh, to have fun, to trust. And all of those things are essential to finding peace and happiness. Now, I have a hunch that you, as a pastor, but also as a person, are beginning to find ways to help other people transition from And it is transitioning from the isolation that we had during the pandemic to a new reality. That's also changing very quickly with lots of, and humans, I specialize in helping people change. They hate change, and companies hate change, but the changes are here. So how do we begin to help people? Give us some wisdom to begin to see, feel, and think in new ways, and develop the fun part, the smiles. And I have a hunch you have some tools, tricks, and wisdom to share.
Absolutely. So, the key word you just said there was change.
Yes.
Everybody wants change, but nobody wants to change.
Yeah,
Because
I'm all
we
for
like
change, just don't change me. I got it.
exactly. That's exactly right. And because change forces us to take a deep breath and do something that might be uncomfortable
Hmm.
because it's hard for us. My my kid's into baseball a lot right now. Whenever we started, he could not catch. But it was and he'd get frustrated. I can't catch, I can't do it. I'm like, no, you can't do it yet.
Hmm.
It's like, you will, you just haven't done it yet. And the only way to be able to do it is for us to go out there and throw every single day.
Yep.
We've got to practice being able to do it. So we're here, say isolation mode, but we want to be here in community with others. And we don't understand what the gap is to be able to get from point A to point B. And so so that was like, who are you hanging out with? Okay, who are the people in your tribe right now?
Yep.
And what are you doing to maybe get into a new tribe, so that maybe doesn't think like you, that doesn't have the like it's scary making new friends, and I know that kind of goes back to a very simplistic thing, but the truth is it can be done. What are we how do I put this? What are we doing whenever we go home? Are you going to a community event? Okay, get that community calendar out. My family and I moved here in 2017 from Louisiana. We had no friends. One night I was laying in bed and I just looked at my wife and I said, "Hey, babe, if this house burns down right now, nobody would know it and nobody would know who we are, and that it wouldn't matter to nobody." And my wife is an educator. She, in her very eloquent way, looks at me and goes, "Donny, stop it." And so I did, and the conversation was over. But we had to find ways
Right.
to enter into other people's world in a non-intrusive way, but yet, and the way that we kind of learned was just be friendly and open conversation. It's like there's a lot of, I know that that's an oversimplification, and sometimes we want these deep theoretical hypothesis of things, but the truth is if we are friendly with each other, if we allow and we give ourselves permission to go and do things we've never done before, you never know what could happen. You
Yeah.
might, every time I fly on a lot of planes, and most times I stick the earbuds in, listen to music, and I'm like, Lord, don't let anybody talk to me right now. I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to sleep. And so, but I know that if I do that, I am missing the opportunity to
Hmm.
be on the Andi Simon podcast.
Yeah.
And so it's just changing the way that we think about things, making the decision. I'm going to put myself out there,
Yep.
and I'm going to find a way to meet two new people this week. That's what I'm going to do. I've got a goal. I'm going to meet two interesting people. I don't know when, I don't know where, but I'm just going to keep my eyes open, and and it's going to happen because we get what we look for.
Yep.
I firmly believe we get what we look for.
Hold your thought. We get what we look for. So I was upstate on a bike trip this past weekend for a few days, and one of the conversations was around how all the New Yorkers who moved up during the pandemic time, upstate, were aliens who came into the locals. And the locals and the newcomers weren't particularly nice to each other until new newcomers started to come in. And then the newcomers and the old folks got together and didn't like the newcomers coming in. Tribalism is human.
Mm-hmm.
But the positive part of it is when you belong to something, you can develop nice, deep relationships with people who are like you. But then we put up those wonderful walls because we as humans are afraid of the unknown and the unfamiliar. And therefore, the barbarians who are at our gate are clearly not as good as we are. And so you said something very important in the context of that. Meet two new people every day. See how you can be of help to somebody new. Reach out and touch someone, bring them into the community, see where they might belong. It doesn't happen because it happens. It happens because somebody reaches out, sits next to you on a plane, has a conversation, and wants to get to know you better. Cares, not about themselves, but about who you are. And that's how you and I came to end our flight saying, you got to be on my podcast. You and I talked about some transitions besides go out and talk to two people a day. Share with the audience some of your wisdom around transition, because a lot of this is having new skills at a time when you're not forced to. You know, the pandemic forced you to stay home, but now you're coming out and it's 2 years and you're still not comfortable doing what you might have done before. Some thoughts.
Absolutely. And just one more story to illustrate the previous thought before we jump into the next one. My mom just transitioned out of her job. She was an educator for over 30 years, and she retired. And it was like, woohoo, go mom! You retired. You worked hard for this. I'm very excited. And she's like, and we're like, so what are you gonna do next? Because she can't sit still. Sitting still is just not an option. Well, she has found a new community to be a part of, and it's called pickleball.
Oh, you're kidding.
And now she's like this avid pickleballer, and she's got all her pickleball friends, and they're in a group, and they go to different courts all over South Louisiana, wherever there's a pickleball thing. And I went with her, and she walks in, everybody's like, hey, Kim, hey, Kim, hey, Kim. People from all different walks of life,
Don't
different
you
backgrounds, whatever. But she made a decision that she was going to be in community with somebody, and she found her people. And I thought that was so awesome.
But
And
that's
like,
interesting. But that's a perfect illustration, because I know lots of people who are leaving education. They're reaching that retirement age, no plans for what's next. And you can FaceTime, Facebook a whole lot, only up to a point. That's not a real life. But that's a real clever one. Oh my goodness. And it's a new field, so nobody owns it yet. You can still crash into it. That's so much
that's
fun.
right.
Right.
That's
so
right.
Go ahead, please finish your thought.
Yeah. And she's sending me groups of Westchester pickleball. So she's like, here's a group you can get in. Here's a group you can get in.
Well,
and it's just being open and saying, you know what? I'm going to be open to people. I'm going to be open to ideas. I'm not saying don't be anchored to your core. I'm just saying that, you know what? There's a world out there. Was it a couple billion people living in the world? And there's a good chance that one of them wants to be friends with you, just like you want to be friends with them. And so it's but like talking about like transitions, transitions are absolutely hard. But at the end of the day, it comes down to you making a decision that this is what you're going to do in your life. One of my favorite stories, Christopher Columbus had just discovered the New World. He's sitting in a pub with some buddies. One of them was giving him a hard time. They were like, you know what? All you did was get in a boat and start sailing. That was it. It's ridiculous. You're a national hero because you got in a boat, you sailed, you found something that nobody had found before.
Oh, I wish I was in that conversation.
And so Christopher Columbus is sitting there and he looks at these guys and he grabs a hard-boiled egg and he hands it to him. He says, stand that egg up on its end. So they put it up and it crashed back down. They set it up, they crash back down. And they hand it, you do it. He takes it, he slams the bottom of the egg into the counter. The egg smugly sat up in front of everybody. And they all went, oh, well, we could have done that. We could have done that. Anybody could have done that. To which he responds, but you didn't.
Yep.
And I believe that that is the point of separation in transitions and things in life, because it is the separating point of what are you doing, and what do you have the opportunity to do, and what are you actually doing. Four frogs sat on a log. Three decided to jump off. How many actually did? One, because a decision is not actually an action.
Yep.
It is stepping out there and actually doing something. It may not always turn out like you want it. There are hardships, there are pains, there's a cost to putting yourself out there. But sometimes you can't worry about the what ifs. You've just got to take on a new opportunity and, take on a new relationship. Well, what if they disagree with me? So what? I disagree with myself so many times. I don't even like the decisions I make a lot of times. And that's okay. That's a part of the human experience.
Yep. You referred to your three children at the beginning. I want to refer back to them because to some degree, the positivity that you exude, I hope you're passing on to them. But it is a mindset which says, you can figure it out, make it possible, be resilient. You can be competent and confident. You can do all of these things. If your mind says you can, you can. Of course you can throw a ball and catch it. You just haven't done it yet. And the metaphor or the lesson to be learned is teach them young and hug them tight, because there'll be lots of walls they'll crash into, but it's okay. If they didn't take the step, they wouldn't have known there was something to learn from the wall. And I have a hunch you work with kids and adults in this way. Am I right?
Absolutely. There are two things that I tell my kids often, and I'm very vocal about this. Number one, I always love you. I always love you. It does not matter. You are always loved by dad. You're always loved by mom. Those two are anchors in your life that you can always hold on to. Nothing changes how much I deeply love you. And I have no problem, public, private, it doesn't matter. Anytime I say to one of my kids, hey, guess what? And now they just drop their shoulders, they look at me and they, I know you love me. And I'm like, that's right. And don't ever forget it. So that's number one. But number two is, I'm proud of you whenever you work hard. I always love you, but I'm proud of you whenever you work hard, whenever you make good choices. I am not automatically always proud of you. I automatically love you, but I'm not automatically proud of you. That's whenever you work hard and you make good choices. Because I believe that if you work hard, if you make good choices, then life is fun. Kind of like, I love the baseball analogy. I tell my boys, like, guys, if you work hard at practice, the game is fun. If you give it everything you got in practice, if you will put the work in, the game is fun. And I believe it's the same way in life. If I am constantly evaluating my thoughts, evaluating my decisions, trying my best to make good decisions and work hard at constantly being better yet today than I was yesterday, I want to be a better human today than I was yesterday. I want to be a better dad today than I was yesterday. I want to be a better husband today than I was yesterday. And then if I constantly have that goal tomorrow, I'm going to even be better. Then life is going to be fun. Life is going to have purpose and fulfillment. And it's just waking up with that mindset. My favorite quote, Andi, is actually from Babe Ruth. I could go baseball analogies all day long, but Babe Ruth said that yesterday's home run does not win today's game.
He's right.
And I absolutely believe that. And that comes back, today, I'm going to put in the work. Today, I'm going to make good decisions. And my life is going to be better today than it was yesterday.
I to some degree, you're very philosophical about this, because in baseball, you come up to bat, and if you hit 1 out of 3 times, you're a real star, right?
Yes. You're in the Hall of Fame.
In the Hall of Fame. And so, and we often use that metaphor because You can only show up, and sometimes that pitcher is going to be better than you, and sometimes that catch is going to be better than your running. But every time you show up, there's an opportunity to hit that home run. And every time you work with your coach on it, you can rise above whatever it was. The trick is to show up.
That's
And
exactly right.
if you don't show up, I guarantee you, you won't ever hit a single ball, much less one out of the park, right?
That is exactly right. You know, a couple Saturdays ago, we were out at the ballpark. It was a game. We get back in the car, and my son is just kind of bummed. And I was like, "What are you bummed about?" He goes, "Well, I got out." And I was like, "Well, why'd you get out?" Because they caught the ball I hit. And I was like, "I want you to stop right there." And I brought him back to three concrete instances in that game where he made good decisions. And I said, and as far as that hit was, you hit the ball. The player in the field was in the right position, and they caught it.
Mhm.
You did your job of hitting. They did their job of catching. It was like everybody did the job that they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
You just hit in a spot where he could get to it. I was like, there's nothing wrong with that. You did everything you were supposed to do. They just made a good baseball play.
Yeah.
And I try to teach them, I was like, yes, we want to win, but more than winning, we just want to see good baseball.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's like I want people in life to win, but more than I want them to win, I want them to have purpose in their life and just and have a life worth living.
Donnie, I work with a lot of organizations, and sometimes I have leadership academies or management development programs, or sometimes I'm just coaching. Often I'm working with them to change the way they think and do things. And we started out by talking about why change is so difficult. But the metaphor with baseball is a very important one because you need to show up knowing that today is better than yesterday. Yesterday's home run is not going to win today's game. And you need to be open to learning new things, but you also have to practice a lot. And I often use the metaphor of theater. You use baseball. I said, you wouldn't get on stage without a script, rehearsal time, and somebody to be, coaching you on how to stand on stage and where to play the right role. But you try to do that with your folks by telling them we're going to change. And then all of a sudden they can't, but there's no practice time and there's no applause and there's no knowing if it's good or bad. And they become frightened. The whole world is designed to help you fail and not to help you succeed. And I'm wondering, as you're working with people, whether it's through the ministry or every day, how do you get them to create an environment where they can, I'm not going to say fail, but show up and grow? I mean, you've got to change the mindset that I don't have a job that pays my thing. I have a place where I can continue to grow and add value purposefully, but I need somebody around me who helps me do that. No, we need to change.
Yeah, I think there's three E's, I guess you could say. Um, and I'm going to try to remember all three right off the spot here that kind of help with this. Number one is environment. You have to make sure that you're in some sort of a growing environment to be
Mhm.
able to change. If the environment around you has a lid on it, then you're not going to change because you're never going. I believe everything rises and falls on the leadership that's in your life. Everything has leadership. Every job has leadership, family, whatever. And if the leadership is not leading and if the leadership is not growing, nobody in that organization is going to grow.
Yep.
So I believe there has to be a positive environment of growth and intentional growth. The second thing outside of environment is what was the second thing? Equipping. We have to equip. We have to be able to equip people.
Yep.
For example, I have an incredible team, and there are some things that I'm personally not equipped to teach and to do. I am not end all to be all. I have my limitations, but that does not mean that there are some areas that people need to be equipped in. I won't. In church, our church, we are very big on music. I do not sing. I do not play an instrument. I cannot help you, but that does not mean that our musicians and our singers do not need to be equipped. So what do? We look for environments to make sure they're equipped in. That might be saying, hey, we are going to send an entire team to a music conference. hey, we're going to send the entire culture development team to a conference to be able to get and then whenever they come back, I sit down with them and say, train me, teach me, what did you learn that can benefit me? And I turn around and let them speak into my life. So we have to build environments, we have to equip. And then the third thing, the 30, and like I said, I'm doing this all off the top of my head. Remember what the 30 is, but there's one out there, and if I think of it, I will I'll think of it. But the scenario that I would put with that is we have to bring people along with us,
Yeah.
along the journey. There are times whenever I am sitting in on a meeting, and there's two guys who are super close to me, and I'll ask them, hey, do you want to join me on this meeting? They add no value to the meeting. They're probably not going to say anything in the meeting, but I just want them there, because if they're there, they're learning something new, they are gleaning something, and I'm investing into their life. Because I have a cup, everybody has a cup, and every day we get the opportunity to pour that cup out. Are we pouring it out wastefully, or are we pouring it out into other people? Because our lives should be invested. We do not spend, for me, this is how I look at it. I do not spend my day. I do not waste my day. I invest my day. And where am I investing? I am investing it into people and relationships that actually matter to my life and to the betterment of others. Because and whenever I fill my cup, it is not for my glory. It is so that I can invest in somebody else and make somebody else better. Because whenever we become people centric and we realize that it's all about the people, it changes everything.
Yeah.
It absolutely changes our perspective, our mindset, everything. And feel free to cut me off at any time you like.
I'm not going to cut you off. I'm going to add to your thought, though, because in 2005, which seems like yesterday, it's almost 20 years ago, a horse rolled over on me, and he broke my back, chipped my neck, and I broke my arm, and gave me a good concussion, and lost my memory for a while. But as I've recovered most of my memory and my body, but I learned something, that it was a bad luck moment. I've been riding since I'm 10, so it certainly wasn't a horse that I wasn't experienced on. But bad luck moments wake you up to the fact that every day is a gift.
Mm.
And the outcome, your metaphor of if the house burned down, would anyone know we were here? That's not what I went through. It was, my goodness, a bad luck moment changed my life, and every day is a gift. So we'll wake up in the morning. People say to me, how do you stay so positive? I say every day is a gift. You're not entitled to another one. And
Right.
it is a very important gift not to waste on yourself, but on how can you make someone else's life better. And with that,
Yes.
I'm going to ask you a couple of things you'd like the listeners or viewers not to forget, because they often remember the end better than anything else. And then we will wrap us up, because it has been absolutely delightful conversation. We could keep going, but I know that my listeners like about a half hour of time as they drive to work in the morning or they're cooking. And so, Donny, wrap us up. The butter man has given us all kinds of ideas today, but 2 or 3 things you want them to remember.
Absolutely. So just kind of wrapping up this entire conversation, I'd leave you with this: investing with people. Here are some practical things that you can do to invest in other people. Number one, become genuinely interested in other people.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody else is talking, just and a lot of these things I did not originate with. These are not my things. They are actually, if I'm going to give credit, it's going to be Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie's How to Invest in Other People. But it is so true. Number one, just become genuinely interested in other people. Whenever they're talking, don't try to formulate a response in your brain. Just listen. Number two, smile. Smile more. It makes your face happy, and it actually lets other people's guards down. So don't be afraid to smile. Number
Don't
three,
stop there. Smiling, we're monkeys. We copy each other. So the more you smile, the more somebody else feels a smile. So now your third one. Please go ahead.
number three, the most important word in the human language is the other person's name.
Uh-huh.
Use people's name. Whenever you're in a conversation, drop their name in there. I am awful at this, and it is something that I have had to work at. But I want to say people's names because it's the most important. It's the sweetest sound in the world when somebody knows your name. Number 4, be a good listener and encourage others to talk about themselves. Listen and let people talk about themselves because everybody has a story that they want to tell. They're just looking for somebody to listen. The next one, talk in terms of other people's interests. Andi, I really appreciate the way that you did that. You caught on quick. I love baseball. And so we took this thing in a direction that I wasn't expecting, but I'm interested in baseball, and you allowed the conversation to flow in that way. So talk in the terms of other people's interests. And number 6, make the other person feel important because they are. Not because you're trying to get anything from them, not because of quid pro quo or anything like that, with no agendas. Every person matters and they deserve to be heard. And you could be the person to actually stop and listen. What would happen if we actually just stopped? Said, you know what? There's nothing more important than what you have to tell me right now. And the way I do that as a leader, and I practice that, Sundays at my church, I could walk from the pulpit and disappear, but I don't. And I could go to a couple certain people and find, but I don't. And I make sure I stand there and I talk to anybody that wants to talk to me. And I have a rule that if a kid whose attention spans are much shorter runs up and wants to give me a hug or wants to give me a high five or has something to tell me, I pause the conversation with the adult. I turn around, I get on the kid's level, I look them eye to eye, and I have a conversation because I know it's not going to last long, but I want that child to know that they are important and what they have to say is important. And then once that's done, I stand back up and I finish the conversation because it is so important to make sure other people know. There's a quote that I use that I love. It's simply this: "It's if it's a big deal to you, it's a big deal to me. So bring it on. I am all yours." And so that would be where I guess I'd want to leave. Just invest in people's lives, and that comes whenever you make others so important that you realize it's not about me, and it's about investing into your life. And so that's I guess that would be my final word there.
Donnie, in a sense, long time ago, I learned from a mentor that people want to feel important, special, and appreciated. And that sort of captures what you're saying. They also want to feel trusted, important, special, and appreciated. And you have a knack for opening up the conversations. I have a hunch you have a repertoire of people you've met on airplanes, exchanged cards with, and keep sharing the joy. If people want to get to know you more or find you someplace, what's the best place to find you? At Butterman or church? Or, what works best?
You know what? I'm going to give you one website and let everything kind of stem out from there. Just my name, DonnyWillis.com, DonnyWillis.com. And there's all kinds of stuff about the book and how we can get in touch and all of that kind of stuff. Now, just in case anybody's looking for the shock of their life, I am unapologetically me on a lot of fronts. And so you might even see some preaching clips pop up because I love public speaking and I love preaching and I love getting passionate about things. So all of that will be out there. But Andi, one of my favorite things to do is just talk to interesting people. And you are an interesting person, and it has been such an honor to be on your podcast. And I cannot say thank you enough for trusting me in this moment. So thank you very much.
Well, and thank you. This has been fun. I find that the podcast, it's an interesting medium that I haven't monetized by design, because what I really don't want to do is be obligated to somebody else. What I really love to do is be obligated to my listeners and my viewers. And I found Donny by chance, which means if Sri Kumar Rao was right, it wasn't by chance at all. It was by design. And who designed it? I don't know, but it was an interesting experience. Um, he guides me that serendipity is sort of an illusion, and I agree. But this has been such fun. Donny, I will thank you many times over. And I want to thank my audience for coming, bringing interesting people for us to interview, buying our books, sharing our books, and remembering that we take observations, turn them into innovations. Our job is to help you see, feel, and think in new ways, because I love you, get off the brink and change. And today's times are changing very fast, and you're not very happy with change. So make it your friend and begin to think about how can you help others listen carefully, hear what they're saying. And I love Babe Ruth. Remember, yesterday's home run is not today's game. And so every day is a day to grow and to learn. And I'll say goodbye, wish you health and happiness, and have a wonderful day. And thank you so much, Donny. Bye-bye now.